Sonic serves versus right back at you returns. Be ready to rumble, it's gonna be a showdown. Like two heavyweight boxers squaring off, staring each other down. There's no fear in these faces. Neither one backs down to the other's threat. The game of intimidation begins long before the first ball is even in play. As they take their positions, the server begins his rituals of preparation as he plans his attack. Bouncing the ball several times, he takes one last look at the returner before sending the toss into the air. Meanwhile, the returner readies himself with his own set of rituals. The intensity must build up to the moment he reacts, so he is sharp and quick in reflex mode. The returner has the option to go in blind and pray that he executes brilliantly, or he too can plan his attack in advance of the serve. With a decisive plan in mind, he has a much greater chance of sending that serve right back at you.
Now that you have an understanding of serve strategy, you should be able to recognize the patterns of attack and better anticipate what's coming on the serve. But that's only half the battle. You can't expect to overcome sonic weaponry without having a solid plan for your return before the start of each point. Knowing in advance what you intend to do on the return eliminates split-second decision-making, taking the pressure off, allowing you to react according to plan and execute more consistently. While you can never be certain whether the serve will be to your forehand or backhand side, there are many factors you can be certain of in planning your return of serve. The best you can do is anticipate and sometimes influence the server's actions, but you have the opportunity before every point to know exactly what you are going to do. Great returners take into consideration the following factors as an essential part of their pre-point routine. Is it a first or second serve situation? Do I anticipate the serve and volley tactic? Will I block, chip, or drive the return? What direction will I hit? What can I anticipate happening after the return? Will I stay back or attack off the return? And will I try to influence or pressure the serve selection? While it may seem unrealistic to complete a 7-factor checklist before every return, with practice and experience, it will begin to instinctively flow through your mind as you prepare to play. Something like this. The server's been attacking tee placements and coming in nearly every first serve, so I'd better expect that to happen. The serve will likely be hard and flat, so I'm prepared to chip the return down to his feet, straight back down the middle. This will force him to volley up and give me the opportunity to pass him on the next ball. Now let's take a closer look at each of the 7 factors of planning and the options you have to work with. Is it a first or second serve situation? In a first serve situation, you have to be more prepared for the server's biggest, most aggressive serves. Typically, you'll see a lot of hard, flat first serves. So mentally you prepare thinking defense, adjusting your return skills to become more like volleys than ground strokes. Most players look to block and chip against first serves, rather than trying to drive the return. In second serve situations, the pressure shifts from the returner to the server, who is now in a position of having to get the ball in play. This allows the returner to become more aggressive with their court position and shot selection, and possibly attack net off the return. You can expect to see mostly spin serves, often targeting your weaker return side. You have to maintain your discipline to not overhit and make errors against weaker second serves.
When we talk about the return of the second serve, we have to have an objective in our mind. If it's sitting there and it's a defensive serve, I want you to challenge the ball, change your position, move forward, chip and charge, hit that inside-out forehand, And what I want you to do is to give a message to the server, hey, you want to serve that to me? I'm going to put it
right back at you.
And that's the attitude that you need.
Do I anticipate the serve and volley tactic? Especially on fast court surfaces, you'll find players like Max Mirny will serve and volley on every first serve, and with weapons on the second serve as well, he will often attack behind the second serve. Other players will serve and volley in streaks, usually until they lose a couple of points and their courage to attack. There will be some players who will only serve and volley on key points when they really want to apply pressure to the returner. Then there are the many players who will never serve and volley, regardless of the circumstance. When you can sense the serve and volley is coming, you should prepare to use the return as a passing shot setup. You don't have to actually execute the pass on the return. It can be part of a 2 or 3 ball combination. If you know the server is likely going to attack, don't allow yourself to become rattled when you see it. Try to focus on what you have to do to execute your plan. Will I block, chip, or drive the return? Often determined by the first or second serve situation and the strengths of the server, you should decide what type of return you want to hit in advance of the serve. This allows you to establish your court position around your objectives. When the serve has overwhelming power, your block and chip returns are the most effective tools for your counterattack, especially against the serve and volley. Topspin drives take longer to execute and feed into the volley strengths of an incoming server. Second serve situations provide better opportunities to drive the ball, especially against a baseliner. What direction will I hit? Whether the serve is to your forehand or backhand side, know what direction you intend to hit the ball and stick to that decision. Against a serve and volleyer, you'll work with the down the line, cross-court angle, and down to the feet as the primary targets. Playing a baseliner, the direction of your return will usually determine the cross-court rally pattern, unless you attack the net. What can I anticipate happening after the return? Knowing in advance what type of return you're working with, block, chip, or drive, and what direction you're hitting, you should be able to anticipate the server's response to your return. If you execute your return according to plan, knowing how the server will respond allows you to be prepared to create and capitalize on opportunity. Will I stay back or attack off the return? Against big servers, you'll find few opportunities to attack net in first serve situations. But on the easier spin second serves, the chip and charge tactic is very effective at applying pressure to the server. If you want to be successful with the return and volley tactic, you need to know before the serve is in play that you intend to attack. If you wait to see the quality of your return before making your move, you'll often get caught out of position to play the first volley. Will I try to influence or pressure the serve selection? The returner has the ability to apply pressure and influence the server's thought process by becoming more proactive with their court position, movement, and actions on the return. One basic example of this occurs in second serve situations, when the returner moves forward to his starting position 2 or 3 feet behind the service line. And when the server sees this, they'll often respond in one of 2 ways. Feeling offended, the server may overhit and try to power through the returner. Or, feeling intimidated, the server may become more tentative. Either way, the returner is affecting the thinking of the server and can often force the double fault. This is just one of several ways the returner can influence the server. Let's take a closer look at how all this works. Typically, your normal starting position for the return will be halfway between the most extreme serve placements to each side of you, and at a depth in the court that is close enough to the service line to cover the angle serves, yet far enough back to allow you to react and execute. We call this position neutral, because you favor no one particular side and leave no major openings to attack. When the server recognizes you're in your usual neutral starting position, they see no easy opportunities as they decide the serve selection.